Hello, this is the voice of Stewart Pearce, and welcome to Deep Dialogues, a series of vital conversations that I have with global soul stewards from all over the world who provide us with an understanding of how we can create a new hierarchy of values that is absolutely significant at this unique time of becoming. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. And here we are. Welcome, Judy. Oh my God, I'm so thrilled that you're sitting there. Absolutely wonderful. This is the culmination of a manifestation that I set off in the ethers many, many moons ago. And to all you wonderful people, let me see if I can see your names. Gosh, so all these wonderful people. Darling, Instacar, I don't quite know who you are. And I love the way that people use these codes. Kate, Robin, Searching Pebbles, Kim, Annie, Carol, Stacy, Annabella, Nicola, Alison. Welcome, welcome. And I'm sure many other people will appear. Without more ado, I want to introduce you all to this wonderful lady. Some of you, I'm sure, will know her because she has been with us as a major influence, as a major spiritual teacher on our planet for some time, and therefore carries the badge of masterly intelligence. Let me just introduce you to her officially through her bio. So Judy Satori is the lady sitting before us. She's an international spiritual teacher, an energy healer, an author, and an ascension way shower who lives in New Zealand. Although she's lived also in the United States, Judy transmits the energy words of new creation as divinely designed fast energy sequences that activate human capacity. Her work with a new spectrum of ascension upgrade energies is called Ultralight, which creates permanent alchemical changes within the DNA template of each person. In consequence, this positively transforms us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, opening up us all to the gifts of divine spirit. Judy's work is housed in an online Ascension Library where she offers many audio and video energy transmissions and programs, helping people to express their own unique potential. Judy Satori, welcome.
Thank you very much, Stewart. And it's lovely to speak to everybody today who's watching and listening. Thank you.
Bless you. There are some gorgeous people here. Barb, Per, Terrell, Dorina, Teresa, Celine, Sai. All of you. I can't keep scrolling. The scrolling goes on and on and on. Without more ado, let's engage in our deep dialogue. And Judy and I had the most wonderful time meeting the other day. I've been wanting to meet her for years. And so this is a great pleasure to be sitting and seeing you and engaging you in this way. Ultralight is an extraordinary force. I feel its import. I feel its resonance. Could you perhaps start by giving us a little bit of information? And I know that that will reveal the rich patina of your oeuvre, your experience, and your amazing wisdom.
Well, as Stewart, as some people will know, some people may not, I'm a transmitter of energy. I speak energy words of new creation. So I'll just give you a little bit of context. These energy words are transmitted automatically through me. And they began about 20 years ago, just by chance. It just happened that I started to speak these languages of light. And the thing about ultralight, it's not a word that I've ever heard until about 4 or 5 years ago when my spiritual guides started to speak about ultralight, ultralight, ultralight. So I Googled the word ultralight because I didn't know, I'd never heard about it. And there was one reference only to ultralight, and it was from a university professor from the United States who had spoken about what he termed a fifth energy species, a new fifth energy species. And he was speaking to the American Astronomical Association at the time, and this was in 2007. So he explained that there was this new type of energy called ultralight, and that it was somehow connected in the fifth energy species. And I connected the dots up after I talked to Spirit about it, and I realized that ultralight is a fifth dimensional energy species. It's a new type of energy that is streaming to the planet to advance us and uplift us and switch on more of the innate human capacities that we hold. Because ascension per se is about, it's not going up or going anywhere. Ascension is really integrating more of the eternal presence, the truth and authenticity of our soul and our soul's light and our soul's wisdom into our human selves. And so ultralight is a little like ultrasound. It's the light that we cannot see. It's all the light that's streaming from God mind or source. And over the years, I've come to understand that God is energy. God is incredible, intelligent energy, consciousness of creation. And so if we take it out of the purely religious context and we talk about emerging of spirituality and science, then God is this incredible energy powerhouse that has created us and has created all of the universe. It's this infinite divine mind. And so from this infinite divine mind is streaming this new upliftment energy called ultralight. We can't see it. Like ultrasound, when you listen to, you can't hear ultrasound because ultrasound is sound that is above the pitch that the human ear can hear. And we can't actually see ultralight because ultralight is designed to illuminate what is within us. And I term it, I call it a divinely orchestrated ascension frequency designed to activate who we truly are as people, as human beings, because the whole ascension process is all about evolutionary upgrade for humanity. It's about taking us beyond who we have known ourselves to be. And even this word beyond, like you mentioned the word beyond. Spirit had given me a prayer. It's called the prayer of being and becoming. We are becoming, we are going beyond what we know and know ourselves to be, and we're becoming more of the authentic truth of who we were really divinely created to be as human beings, because the human being was created in the image of the divine creator. And we hold that resonance of God within every cell of our body. So here we go.
Have you noticed the sound that is
Yes.
penetrating through? I don't know if Ryan can do something technical, but there's an extraordinary high-pitched harmonic. Can you hear it?
Now, yes, I can.
Right.
I can.
Now it's gone. It was interesting because it's, as you spoke through that entire crescendo that you worked through there,
Yes.
it got more and more and more and more intense. So I feel that we're being spoken to as you speak. We're already feeling a very, very powerful transmission. It was getting in the way of what you were saying, so we just modulated it slightly.
Yes,
What I'd love to do is to pick up the seed of what you were saying in relation to light species.
yes.
Because suddenly you've given me this wonderful mental gymnastic of seeing the currency of the love light circuitry suddenly becoming full of entity consciousness that actually forms its own group or collective of a species. Could you mention what you feel light species is?
Well, we are, I think, all beings that were created to manifest into physical form. And I'm not just meaning beings, human beings existing on the earth. I mean all beings who are existing in a physical form of expression. And even beings that are not, discarnate beings that are not in a physical form of expression, are light beings to some degree. Some of us are able to access that light, and some of us are not able to access so much of that light, but we all hold the potential of that light within us. We all are created as human with that capacity to access the light. And so with this ultralight energy frequency that is streaming to Earth, and also the energy transmissions that I speak, because I transmit the ultralight frequency, and it's designed to activate human truth, their energy words of new creation. This light that we cannot see, the ultralight, is actually activating the switching on of more of the innate light within every cell of our body, because the more we can resonate with light, which is also energy, sound, vibration, through the power of love, which is through the heart, because the heart is the generator of the fuel, if you like, to activate the light within us. Those beings, those people that cannot activate the energy and the essence, the vibration of love within their being, they can't move through this process of change to the degree that someone who is aligned with love can do. And I think this is a spiritual safeguard for the ascension process that the divine hierarchy have brought forward, because it is only through the power of love, which is the key and the way, as Jesus Christ, Yeshua, explained 2,000 years ago. Love is the glue. Love is the glue that holds us together. It holds life together. It gives power and purpose and meaning to our lives. And the love vibration is absolutely required within our vibratory state, our cells, our energy fields, and in our heart, our consciousness. And it's like the activator force for what we are becoming.
But you see, you were referring to light species, and I was just picking up that really interesting thought that we see sentience grouped into organized pathological states that we call species. And we know that there is a supreme power, as you were saying, God. For me, God is a superposition for all things, and is filled with an inchoate divine intelligence, which is pure love.
Yes.
And so we see all of the wonderful living groups of zoological detail and botanical detail and mineralogy on our planet. You know, thinking animal, vegetable, and mineral. But to think of light as a species, I think is so extraordinary.
Well, you see, I feel that light is energy. I don't really see it as a species, but I see it as the activator of a species. And in this case, the activation of a human species. And, you know, we can talk about the human species, we can talk about other species of intelligence, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, all divinely created, all holding light. And the ascension process, to my mind and my understanding, is the amplifying of the light within all of these species who cohabit with us on the earth, really.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the, you know, I know you denoted this earlier on in the conversation. What is the ascension process? Because there is quite a lot of confusion about the whole process of ascension. And in fact, I rarely talk about ascension. I talk about descension. That's because
we know a lot about that. We know a lot about ascension.
I've always seen sound. And so I've always seen the divine within sound. And as a child, could not read, because the reading technique that I was being shown as a very young child was purely staccato. And I spoke about what I was seeing, thinking in my innocence that everybody could see what I was seeing. I soon found out that this was not so. And all I saw was disapprobation and punishing conduct, because they were rather frightened about what I was talking about. So I self-muted. And then later, around 9, 10, when I started speaking again, I was always humming. And my mother, in her infinite wisdom, said, "Stewart is always humming or singing. Perhaps he should be in a church choir." Yes, because I thought it would be so wonderful to be dressed in those clothes and to sing, because I love singing. But of course, as a chorister, looking as pretty as I did, with a book in front of me, I realized that there were the notes that I learned were of certain duration. So particles of light in note form of certain duration, and underneath were words. But so through the flow of song, I started reading.
Yes.
Not through the cat sat on the mat.
Yes.
So it's very aware of the downloads of light. However, back to where we were. I'm fascinated by the nature of the fact that you are a very unique channel, that you are a very unique in your vocabulary, a very unique transmission. And so the point that I was beginning to make, to tie up both points, is that my feeling always is that the divine wishes us to fully embody, and that's why we are a cosmic experiment. In the beginning was the word, or in the beginning was sound, and the sound was made flesh and dwelt among us full of grace and truth. And as we were discussing the other day, light being one of the most powerful energies within our perceptual unification, light downloads into color, into sound, and then into matter.
Yes.
So it's all about a descending rather than let's get out of our bodies. It's all about bringing spirit into our bodies.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think up until now, we have been going through, as human people, up until probably about 500 years ago, the Earth was going through what I would call an entrophic cycle, where it's like a contraction, a closing down of who we really are as human beings and have the potential to be. And entropy is like contraction. And from about 500 years ago, during the time of the Renaissance, the art, the music, the majesty of life began to express itself. And then came the Industrial Revolution and contraction happened. But with that Industrial Revolution, there was also a great deal of technological advancement. And we can see in the last 100 years or so, massive advancement in technology. But it's also been a time of opening for the people who are here on this planet, particularly to hold the light and to help others express, other human beings, our brothers and sisters on this planet, express that light, that truth, that authenticity within ourselves. We go back to the time of Alice Bailey and the people she was associated with in 140 odd years ago now. And we're now at this new time. My guides explain it to me. My spiritual guidance says this is a new alpha to omega cycle that we're in. And alpha is the beginning letter of the Greek alphabet, and omega is the last letter. So this alpha to omega cycle really explains this a long period of time, from the time that our souls became individuated, separate from the Godhead, and began to incarnate into physical forms of expression, not just on the Earth, but in other star nations within this galaxy and beyond this galaxy. So we decided to come to Earth around 100,000 years ago, many of us, to be here at this special time of shift, of reset, of ascension. And ascension, to my mind, is the beginning of the cycle of centropy, which centropy is like opening, expansion, moving back to what we know, but also going beyond that, because this new cycle of alpha to omega is like throwing a much stronger stone into the lake of who we are. This is like a much wider ripple effect going out, and the stone is like energy. The stone is the divine word. The stone are new words of energy creation, because in the beginning, as you said, Stewart, there was the word, and the word was made flesh. So what is occurring now? And I believe, I'm told by my guides anyway, I'm just a human person, but I'm told by my guides that the words that I'm being asked to transmit are energy words of new creation, to make new flesh, to spark a shift within the human DNA code that will create a new type in time, to create a new type of human being. So it's an evolutionary upgrade for humanity and for the Earth and for this galaxy and for all of the 22 galaxies that make up a diamond-shaped matrix of expanded God divine creation.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I've been
And
told. Anyway.
what do you feel? I mean, do you have a prophecy at all or presentiment about what the new being of creation will be when we speak of? I mean, I feel that we're moving from Homo sapien into Homo noeticus. We're moving from intelligence into wisdom and then into Homo luminous. So do you have a prophecy about what you see the new human to be?
Yes, I'm learning as I go. And I think that's very important to realize. I think we all are, because as the energy shift on the planet, all of us, get activated and expanded in the realization of who we really are. And what I've noticed, particularly in recent years, many people are automatically being triggered or activated to remember aspects of not only their past lives, but to be able to connect to more of the monad, the soul group, energy and information that we all come from, and to express our understanding of life differently. So as time goes on and I feel there's a very powerful portal period of time between 2020 and 2033. And now we're in 2021. So the energies are getting much stronger. You know, as we look at what's happening on the planet, it feels like there's more chaos happening everywhere we look at. But what is really happening is it's a breaking down of the old value system, as the old hierarchy of who we have known ourselves to be as human people, so that we might go through a reset. But your question to me was about the future. So I don't have a crystal ball and I'm learning as I go, but and I don't really consider myself as a prophet. I consider myself as a conduit for truth, and everything that I receive is coming from source, God, divine intelligence. And it's coming through, I believe, through the power of love. So it's all about where we're going in the future. I feel, as far as I understand it to be now, is that the ascension process is an activation of soul remembering, soul truth, soul ability, but it's also affecting us physically. And as time goes by, as we become more able to hold these very coherent, powerful, and life-supporting and affirming energy frequencies in our body, we will go beyond healing, which is coming into balance, to a certain degree of regeneration. How much we go through that process of regeneration really depends on every individual person, every being on this planet, and the degree of karmic distortion that is within their energy fields and resonating within the cells of the body. So a lot of people right now are going through a lot of the detoxification effect of getting ready for that revitalization.
Yeah. So the key in the richness of what you share, the key is that the physical nature of the cosmos, and particularly this galaxy, I know it's happening in other galaxies, but we'll speak this galaxy, just to bring the vastness of the numinous into what we see as a locality, is going through an extraordinary evolutionary process because of the increased level of light formation that we are receiving. But as a result, the physical nature of our lives, of all sentient life, including the species of light that you were referring to, everything is evolving on a physical level. So in fact, the impact on us specifically is not that we're leaving our bodies, it's that we're becoming more aware of the divine grace and human composure within our biology. And the way that this happens is by cell awakening to embrace subatomic particles with so much light that our DNA activates. We have a 12 helix DNA, but we're only living 2. And
Yes.
so I feel that as we speak, all of my cells are vibrating on a really, really high frequency. And I feel myself becoming weightless. But I know I'm also here. So I'm reminding myself that I'm in a body. So therefore, I feel the third dimension, the third level or the third cycle of DNA is opening within me, so that we can once more return to what the Atlanteans and the Lemurians were living, which was a 12 helix DNA. The angels teach me that it goes back a little bit further than 100,000 years. That if we
Yes.
see that we go way back into the beginning of the intelligence that we know as being Atlantis, it was around roughly around 250,000 BC, and within that period through to the end times of Atlantis, which were approximately 14 or 13,000 years ago, that there was 1,000 years of such harmony that we were living a 12 helix DNA, and therefore we were able to create changes purely by thought within the kinesphere of the planet. And we were able to create a shield
Yes.
because apparently with this meteorological changes were really vast, rather similar to what we're seeing happening at this time, and that they were able to create a shield. So there was a harmonized state of living in the Garden of Eden, as we call it, paradise. Does that also concur with what you've been processing?
Yes, I think many of us have had lifetimes in Atlantis and Lemuria, also known as Mu sometimes. Mu was like, my understanding is that Mu was the original star colony or Garden of Eden on the earth, and Atlantis followed along behind. Atlantis was a colony of Mu. When I speak about 100,000 years ago, I'm not really referring to Atlantis and Mu being created then. And of course, before Atlantis and Mu, the Earth was known as Tara. This is going back hundreds of thousands of years ago. Tara was fifth dimensional Earth before it contracted, and after the rebellion of the fallen angels, or the Luciferian rebellion, beings came to Earth that were corrupted in their thinking and their energy, and they had distanced themselves from the oneness. But when I talk about 100,000 years ago, I'm talking about the deliberate creation by star nations within this galaxy of a new type of species called the human. They called the human because Hu is a sound that means of God, who they deliberately seeded upon the earth in Mu, on Mu, to help to intermarry with the existing root races of the earth and to help take the earth forward, because the existing root races of the earth, I've been told anyway, did not have the required genetic capacity. They were created differently to the human. They were humanoid in their expression, but they didn't have the pineal gland, this crystalline gland within the soul, within the brain, that could receive divine inspiration and light. And so they couldn't be really reached to be upgraded until the human Cro-Magnon man came along, merged with the existing root races, and took all of the beings on this planet forward over a long period of time. And so these star nations existed way back in time, and Atlantis, Mu, sank beneath the waves before Atlantis, but quite close together. And as you probably also, I'm sure you know, and understand really well, because I know that we've spoken about you having had lifetimes in Atlantis particularly, and in Egypt. My understanding that it was Thoth who took a group of the Atlantean survivors to Egypt, and they took the tools and technologies of old Atlantis to the land of Kem there.
Yeah. Yes, the being you speak of is my master and has been with me for 50 years.
Yes.
So, so I've been visiting, I've been visiting Egypt for 50 years.
Yes.
I went there through happenstance to merge with my Earth father, who I had a very challenging relationship with. And then he said, well, why don't you come to Cairo? I'm going to Cairo. And I thought, over my dead body. And then I turned to my mother, and washing the dishes after lunch when he uttered this, I said, what do you think I should do? And she said, you know, darling, when your father's away, he's a very different person. I think you'll have fun. And indeed it was. But it was actually through meeting synchronistically a friend of his towards the end of our week in Cairo, which we did some, pretty dutiful things by going to the Giza Plateau and by going to Saqqara and touching in. My father wasn't really interested in what I was interested in, which was to dive into the mysteries. Suddenly there appeared this extraordinary Frenchman who was a friend of my father's. And he, when my father left, Jacques took me all the way down the Nile, and he was totally bound by esoteric thought. And so he introduced me. And Thoth appeared to me in the temple of Habu Medinet.
Yes.
Back to where we were, because I'm more interested in what you were sharing with us. When you first discovered the ability to transmit, when it just happened 20 years ago, the whole of your life changed, presumably.
Yes, it did. First of all, in 1997, I received a brochure in the mail about learning to connect with spirit, and I felt really compelled to go along. And at that, it was a weekend course, I felt I was energetically connected with a being who told me his name was Balthazar, and I saw him in my mind's eye as this tall, dark man with brownish skin, and he was wearing a purple robe. And in the week that followed, and when he connected with me, he spoke, out of my mouth came his voice. It wasn't my voice. So I knew absolutely that I wasn't making this up. And I think sometimes spirit bring these experiences to us so that we know we're not making it up and we trust what's happening to us more. So I was speaking Balthazar's voice when he connected with me. I felt the energy really strongly. It was like a merging of his energy with mine. And he was one of the Magi, one of the 3 wise men that was there at the birth of Jesus. So that began a journey over the next 5 years of working with all of the ascended masters, Thoth included. And I work with Thoth. I've been with Thoth a lot in my life. Very instrumental in the Emerald Tablets and everything he teaches. He taught, you see. Also called Hermes Trismegistos, as you know. And so I began to be passed to different beings, ascended masters, then angels, cosmic angels, different angelic beings, Yeshua, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Mary. I felt the energy of all of them, and all of them have brought through certain inspiration at different times in the last 25 or so years. But 5 years later, after I began in 2002, I was at a convention, a spiritual convention, and I had to give a talk, and I was standing in front of all these people in the marquee, and I didn't know really what was going to happen, but out of my mouth came this really strange language that I hadn't spoken. I didn't know I could speak, and I didn't actually know what it was. And it was, we can all speak these languages of light, you see, because we all have this memory within us, because this is like the sacred language of the soul. It's like also there are it's a translatable galactic language really too, which is like a universal language. So I was trained in these, and over the next 15 or so years ago, my work was particularly to do with clearing karmic distortion within the cells of the body and the body's energy field, because we can't receive this ascension light to its fullest degree and activate our complete potential terribly well if our energy circuitry is blocked up with distortion, which is past life trauma energy that is blocking us. You know, we've all had very challenging past lives, so it's this energy residue really. And
we're also challenging current incarnations, some people. And so the choices that are made, which we know are stimulated by karmic choices, but the choices, as we see with so many of our brothers and sisters at this time, are caught in cruelty and chaos.
Yes, that's true. And I think for many people too, the road is rocky, because for many souls, many souls have decided that this life, which is a life period, a time period on the planet of such possibility for soul upliftment and soul advancement, many souls have come back to clear karmic problems or issues that we have intentionally or unintentionally created, because a lot of people are affected by the projected energy of other people in other lifetimes, and this energy clings to us like a snowball rolling down a hill. Every time we repeat a similar energy trauma, more of that heaviness or energy distortion impacts to us. And so at this time, this lifetime for many people is rocky, because we are being called on a soul level, which is our soul's plan and our soul's destiny, to dump it. We're dumping it, we're clearing it so that we can merge into the divine loving beings that we really authentically are. We've just forgotten that we are. So it's a time of great change for people, both within ourselves. Well, from my perspective, I'm a totally different person than I was 20 years ago.
And so because so many people are awakening at this time of immense shift, this becoming into a brave new world, both internally and externally, I know many people who are coming to me, hundreds and hundreds for soul readings, are asking, how can I be this? Because my life will need to change. Presumably your 3D life changed somewhat in its structure. I mean, at that time, you were working as a PR consultant?
It was. I originally I was a physiotherapist.
Right.
And then I retrained in marketing and public relations. And so I've done a lot of corporate marketing and public relations work. But one day, around the time that I met Balthazar, I was sitting in front of my computer trying to write a press release. And it began to affect me, so that every time I sat down at the computer to write something which was work related, I would get a blinding headache. It was like my soul was saying, no, shut that door. There's a new one opening, and you've just got to surrender and follow it. And so I had to get out of my own way and trust. I really didn't have any choice, actually. And it was quite a challenging time, because I think change is always hard, because I didn't have the perspective that I now have looking back. It's always easier looking back in life, and you see, oh yes, I did this, I did that, and look how it worked out. But I think it's particularly difficult for younger people now, because they don't have the perspective of age experience.
Yeah.
Now I know it's fine. So even now I get a lot of energy downloads, which can cause discomfort in my body. But now I'm at the stage of trusting. I know I'm not sick. But in the early days, I had heart palpitations. I'd race off and get an ECG. Now I know, oh yes, here we are. My body is changing, because my body needs to change to enable it to transmit the energy that's coming.
So, and this is what I was intrigued by, you see, because, so many people are awakening to their divine gifts and are experiencing what are commonly known as ascension symptoms.
Yes.
But here you are talking about physiological changes within you that for some can appear to be disturbing. And yet you have an overarching belief that allows you to know all conditions are temporary. I am moving towards the light, and I am a being of light, so the light will always hold me, while the more dense version of myself in physiology will go through its change. These sorts of techniques, I feel, are really crucial for those people that are moving through shifts at this time. But it also meant that the broader scope of your life changed as well, presumably, because you see...
It did, I think, Stewart. And when we change on the inner planes of ourselves, life reflects that change back to us. And so life must change. When we change on the inner, life also changes on the outer. And I think that can be very scary. It was for me.
And it was scary because?
It was scary because we think we know who we are. But the thing about this process that we're all moving through, which I call ascension, is that who we are, or who we have thought we have known ourselves to be, which is our personality, human self, with that conditioning of our childhood, our memories from early years, this is not really who we are. And this whole process of change that we're all going through now is prompting the initiation of, and it is an initiation experience, of connecting to more of the authentic soul's truth of who we are. And as we go through this process, we go through all sorts of changes. And the more we can understand the process, and on my, I've created a whole Ascension Library to help people with tools to support people through this process. And what I've come to understand is that there are 3 stages to Ascension. A lot of people, the first stage is to do with beginning to awaken to there's something more. There's a reality that is more than what we know. The second stage is clearing the dross to make way for the new. And this is probably the most difficult stage. It's a bit like the third stage of labor, before a woman gives birth, and every woman will know this is painful. And so it can be challenging. And then the third stage is when we merge into the surrender with the divine, and that divine aspect of who we are, and we trust. We know that all is well. And as we more increasingly resonate with that certain knowledge of peace and love and unity and co-creation and surrender within us, so those vibrations that we become and resonate with within every part of who we are attracts that same vibration back to us in our life. And so synchronicity, serendipity is happening now when we get to that stage of that third stage, when we become magnetic attractors to our good. And it's purely through the state of beingness and being that energy that we wish to bring into our life. So if we want love, we have to be love. And, in 2013, Mary Magdalene took me on quite a journey. I was asked by Mary to go to La Sainte-Baume in Provence, where Mary is said to have lived for 20 years following the crucifixion of Jesus when she went to southern France. And she came to me every day over about 9 days, and she dictated to me what she called transcripts. I call them the transcripts of Mary Magdalene, and they're a set of teachings about balancing love within us and energy recordings that she had me make, which is about balancing the love aspect within the heart, balancing with loving wisdom, loving kindness, bringing that vibration of love within the body, and allowing us to surrender to that love that we are. You see, because when we get to that point, we can be who we truly want to be because we are it. We resonate with that spectrum energy.
So, if I may reflect on the richness of what you've just shared, one of the inevitable crises or shifts of purpose that we awaken to on all levels of experience is that we realize that we don't know who we are because we've been encouraged to understand what we are.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
It's all about the externalization of the doing world that we're educated, socialized, and conditioned by. And then we suddenly realize, well, who am I? And so we plummet into the surrender and the yielding of who we are. And then, of course, if we're clever enough, we really let go, spirit carries us. And as a result of that, intuitive capabilities open. So we begin to feel whether it's other human beings who we draw magnetically in, who have experience of what we've been through before, having gone through something similar, although we're all unique. And therefore we can lean into them, or they can shoulder us. And then as a result of that, we start meeting divine beings. What was the fundamental teaching that carried you through?
I feel it's the fundamental teaching that carried me through was my connection with spirit, and the fact that they're there always as my friends. and they've never let me down. And their key catchphrase is, all is well, do not be concerned. And I probably heard all is well, do not be concerned thousands of times over the years. And every time I've asked to step out and say something new, they're with me.
Yes.
I feel them beside me. Yes. I'm not doing them alone.
Yes. So your ego dissolved, and you were able to actually feel that the contraption or the illusion of aloneness,
yes,
simply a total illusion, that you felt all one with spirit.
I feel all one with spirit now, but it wasn't necessarily as easy as that. It's been a long period of walking together side by side.
Yes. Yes.
What has caused me and supported me in my trust of spirit is the fact that I always feel them with me. It is the fact that there's thousands of people who've used the work that spirit have gifted and brought through me, and they've gained positive benefits. If I hadn't had positive testimonials from people through the years, then I may not have continued, because I have proof that what my guidance has said to me is accurate, and it works, and it supports people.
Yes.
So I trust in the role that has been given to me, really.
Yes. But the furnace of your soul is the love that you experience. Oh dear, have I lost you? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. The furnace of your soul, the light of your soul, gave you that extraordinary ability to truly comprehend, sense, somatize the wonder of love. And therefore you never felt alone, although I'm sure it was choppy waters and you went through huge fluctuations of energy. The point is that the energy was always there. You see, I'm just trying to pick up a point that you're making, which I think is absolutely quintessential, because there are many people who are listening in who are going through something similar, as you well know, because you're working with them as I am. And I'm hearing crises, 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 because of the over-identification with the 3D self, with the ego, and how there is this belief that if we journey beyond the social community that we've been brought up in, i.e. the family or the tribe, that automatically we're going to be alone, because this is an assumption that is made. Oh, you think you know best? Well, then why don't you just leave, says Dad, during adolescence, when we're being antsy, as our American friends would say. In other words, all we're doing is flexing our muscles. So the ability to feel that we are all one is something that I feel that anybody who may be in crises, is that we need to try and find ways of being able to develop that. And of course, one of the ways, of course, is by being in nature.
Absolutely. It's about being in nature, but it's also about going within. It's about touching into ourselves, and we could call, meditation. But I don't want to make this a heavy discussion about meditation. I'd just like to explain that there's a very simple technique that you can do for 11 minutes a day that will help everybody touch into the authentic truth of who they are, and soothe and calm and help a person get out of the fear and into the love. And it's called the Magenta Pyramid. And you just create. You can shut your eyes if you want to do it at home, and it's also in this Ascension Library. I just want to also say, Stewart, for people, that there are there's a lot of free material there in the free explore section of my Ascension Library, and all of this information are tools to help people through everything that you're talking about, to create a new, more expanded aspect of self. But this Magenta Pyramid, you just imagine that there's a beautiful magenta colored pyramid that's being superimposed over the top of your head. The base is level with the solar plexus chakra, and the apex of the pyramid is level at the region of the 10th chakra, which is about 2.5 feet above the head. The 10th chakra grids are the Christ consciousness grids. So this magenta, purple, pink energy is about love, and it's about transformation. And you don't have to be a great visualizer. You just shut your eyes and you just speak your own words. I know that I'm creating this magenta pyramid, placing it over my body, and it's my connection to the divine. to Christ consciousness. And then you just deliberately create, by saying it, by feeling it as much as you can, the energy vibration of peace. You just feel peace in every cell of your body.
Mm.
And then in the right-hand base of the pyramid, you place the energy vibration of love. And you just say, I am love with the power of God that I am. I am love. And that love vibration, when we speak our own words, those words create a different energy frequency within the cells of our body and within our consciousness. And it's the energy frequency that attracts and changes our life. And then we just imagine that we're reaching up to the apex of this pyramid, and we place up here the vibration of joy. Now, I totally understand that a lot of people right now haven't the faintest idea what joy feels like and can't access it. So just say the word joy. And with joy is aligned the energy of trust. I trust in God. I trust that I am cared for, that I am divinely guarded and protected through all time, because we are all eternal souls. This little blip of life is not all that there is. And so, yes, it is challenging for most people right now in some way, but it's part of a shift into a new form of expression inside of ourselves. And it's part of a shift into creating a new hierarchy of values of co-creation on our planet.
Yeah.
It's all about that.
It's beautiful. So everybody, what we'll do is you can hear what Judy's talking about. We'll put her website up on the screen and on all the varying social media platforms so that don't go there now, obviously, because we want you here, but you can go into all of the richness that she's offering. Everybody, while we finish speaking, because we have about 8 minutes left, if there are any questions that you want to ask, please do ask. Tell us more about... Okay, so I suddenly saw a question which seems to have disappeared. Adriana, tell us more about Thoth, mystical ways of ascension, and the learning you were given by him, please. So would you mind, darling, speak about what Thoth has given you?
Well, I first connected with Thoth quite a long time ago. And I've been to Egypt, not as many times as you, Stuart. I've been to Egypt 4 times. But part of my own past life recall was of going with Thoth to Egypt from Atlantis, in the last days of Atlantis, and being in this temple high on the hill above the city of Undal, and catastrophe, sort of being marooned there, really, like on an island, and going in a great airship to the land of Kem, to Egypt, and there working with Thoth to help the people understand the truth of the one and the way, and of On. And On, the most famous, or the most powerful temple, if you like. I don't like to use the word the power, but what I mean is the most important temple on the Nile was the temple of Heliopolis, the temple of On. And On means the place of the light. So this person that I was then was a woman called Astiara. And Astiara, she was asked to go to the land of Mu. And New Zealand, where I live now, was part of the land of Mu. But New Zealand was a place where they sent the priestly class for higher learning and understanding. And in those times, I was told that it was called Ontara. So it was a reference to Tara, the earth before it contracted and became earth, and to On, light. So it was a place of high light. And I mean, I've devoured over the years teachings. I've worked with Thoth in many workshops and events. I have understood that he was the divine scribe. I understand that he used to journey to Amenti. And I also journey to Amenti. And Thoth used to go to Amenti, this inner earth kingdom, this place of regeneration within the earth that holds the pulse rhythms of the earth itself, to regenerate his physical body. So I have taken, and they're in my library, of course, I've taken groups of people to this inner earth kingdom, this place called Amenti, in meditation. And so much of my work over the years has been with Thoth, who has guided me along the way, so that part of my role is to help people find a new way.
Beautiful.
And there's many stories I could tell about my relationship with Thoth.
And of course, the principle of his extraordinary intelligence was to give us alchemy.
Yes.
Somebody's asking if you could speak of the angelic realm.
Yes. Well, there's different realms of light or expression, different realms of divine expression. The angelic realm is the realm of the angels. These beings can appear in physical bodies in front of our eyes, as I think they have to you, Stewart. But they are discarnate beings, which means they're not in a physical flesh and blood body like ours. The angelic realms uplift us. They're like, and there's different types of angels. There's different roles that angels play. There's different groups of angels. There's the protector angels, there's the healing angels, there's angels that we can call upon, these divine light beings, for our guidance and our support. And, you can go onto Google, that great encyclopedia in the ethers, and you can Google an angel that would be there to support your particular situation.
Well, actually, I may say, go to theangelsofatlantis.com.
Your book, yes.
There, everybody will meet the Malachim. These are the beings of light that have been with me for the last 35 years.
Yes.
In fact, in a moment, I must see who is speaking to us through one of the oracles that they've asked for. Somebody's also asking about the Schumann Resonance. Is there anything you'd like to reveal?
Well, this is what Spirit is saying to me to reveal. Schumann Resonance, as we all know, is spiking dramatically. And it's the resonance within the earth, the frequency of the earth core, the earth itself. The Schumann Resonance is spiking because of the energies that are coming to the planet, and the energies of coming to the planet are also affecting us. So the energies that are streaming from deep space, and when I talk about deep space, I'm talking about the heart center of this more expanded God matrix at the heart of 22 galaxies, which is the diamond, which is creation energy or new creation energy. This energy is coming to the earth, it's hitting up against our sun, it's bombarding the earth and us with this frequency, and it's causing peaking, spiking, changing, continual changing in the Schumann Resonance.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. To go back to the early part of our conversation, and knowing that you have been one of the great champions of light language. I don't mean that the word champion competitively, but purely and simply in the sense that you've been a progenitrix of bringing light language into our consciousness at this time over the last 20, 25 years. Somebody was asking, is there anything that you feel you can provide us with as a finale to our wonderful deep dialogue in light language?
Absolutely. Light language just happened for me in 2002, and it's changed a lot over the years. And as I said, now it's about coding. Now it's about recoding us, activating human potential. And we're going to go beyond who we know ourselves to be. We're going to become beings beyond what we currently understand about ourselves. And so we're getting ready. So it's like, hold on for the ride. But what I want to just bring through now, and I'm being guided, is, and this is angelic. They say it's like an angelic blessing. It's to support and overshadow all of us with the deep peace and the love and the trust and the compassion for ourselves because we are all beings of high divine light. We're just living in the human condition, and we've been affected by many past lives of struggle, a lot of them, and trauma, and we're leaving behind that traumatic energy, and we're merging into the good stuff that our soul holds. We have a soul DNA, soul's Akashic records, a soul aspect of all of who we are, and more of this authentic soul aspect of who we are is coming into us, which is what's changing us. So the angels, they want to share with us their angelic blessing for us now. And these are archangels, they say cosmic angels, all of the angels who are our divine guardians and supporters. So I'm just going to speak. So I'll just briefly explain, if I could translate those words. This is about the Sa. The Sa is the ascended soul aspect of us. We've got the Ka, as ancient Egyptians understood. The Ka is the physical body. The Ba is the higher self, the soul self. And the Sa is the ascended Osirian soul aspect of us. And the angels, so they were saying, rise into the ascension, rise into the ascended aspect of self. The Sa, the Sa, the Sa, the Sa. And at the end, they were saying, bring it into the Ka, the Ka, the Ka, the Ka, which is the physical body and the human personality self's expression.
Beautiful. That's what I got.
Well, I knew you would.
What I received, absolutely. So there you are, everybody. Judy living through her extraordinary métier in terms of light language. And I shuffled the 44 cards in the oracle, 44 meaning the 44 strands of DNA that are dormant. And the card that came up was Sandalphon. The angels, when they came to me, they came as orbs of light. So this is the amber orb of Sandalphon, the guardian of the planet, and therefore the guardian of our physical experience, suggesting that we're moving through a planetary cycle marker where all of our planets are aligning, and therefore we're going through a process of immense evolution. But what this indicates, because of the alignment of the planets, is something deeply auspicious and highly propitious. There is good luck in the air and much love. Judy Satori, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. From the core of me, and I know I share from, where can you get these oracle cards? Go to www.theangelsofatlantis.com, you darling person. They're international bestseller. Thank you, Ryan, for putting it on the screen, so you'll have fun. Lots and lots of joyous references being made in the chat box. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Look forward to seeing you next Monday. And a big, big thank you from you all, I know, to darling Judy. Yes, and please click subscribe on our YouTube account. Stay where you are, Judy. We're just going to close down. Thank you, everybody. Namaste.